episode of Silver Cover with Jazzy, where we have honest conversation about growth, identity, advocacy, and the experiences that shape who we are still becoming. Today's guest is a very special guest. I am so honored to be interviewing Ellen Lubensky, a Stanford graduate and attorney with a background in medical malpractice and disability law. After nearly 2 decades of navigating the healthcare system firsthand, Ellen now draws on her legal knowledge and lived experience to advocate for stronger informed consent, patient protection, and accountability in psychiatric prescribing practices. This conversation will be educational, thoughtful, and deeply important because we are discussing what it means for patients to truly understand their choices, ask questions, and have agency in their own healthcare. Ellen, thank you so much for being here. I'm really honored to have this conversation with you today.
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you.
Yes, it's my pleasure. So to start, can you introduce yourself and share a little about your work in patient advocacy, informed consent, and medical accountability?
Sure. So I am a Stanford educated attorney, and I am in benzodiazepine withdrawal, and I am in protracted withdrawal from antipsychotics. I speak publicly about informed consent in psychiatry. Um, Informed consent is something that I did not get. I did not know anything about the warning of psychiatric medications that doctors generally give that in 2 to 4 weeks, you may become physically dependent. I freely admit this, and this is something that is extraordinarily common. If I had known the risks of taking benzodiazepines, I would not have taken them. In the 15-minute appointments that psychiatrists often give you, they generally push psychiatric medications and don't often give you alternatives like therapy or breath work. I firmly believe that big pharma is behind this. Pills are the cheap solution. They're the easy solution. Many people struggle with mental health issues, but I firmly believe that psychiatric medications should not be the first resort. These are things I did not feel that I could ask questions. As an attorney, as a medical malpractice attorney, I was intimidated by the system. I felt that questions were not appropriate. I would encourage people, if they don't feel they can ask questions, to bring in a family member or a friend to appointments. Anybody can report psychiatrists. I have reported 2 psychiatrists this year because psychiatrists do mess up, and I firmly believe that they should be held accountable. I have filed suit against a psychiatrist right now. As a medical malpractice attorney, I can file suit. It is very difficult to get attorneys to take psychiatric medical malpractice cases. And I believe that that is concerning. I believe that all doctors should be held accountable when they make mistakes. And everybody makes mistakes. When doctors have made mistakes this year, they've been defensive. I believe that, there should be apologies. There should be transparency. When you go to a doctor, you should feel like you can advocate for yourself. You should feel that you should have the option. If you don't like one doctor, you can always go to another one. You should always know you have choices. for a long time, I did not think I had choices. I went to self-harm at 11 because the system failed me. I was not given coping resources as a child. I attempted at 16. I firmly believe that psychiatric hospitals are not the answer to mental health issues. There are many more humane ways to treat people with mental health issues. I firmly believe that I had autistic meltdown at 20 with high anxiety. I was misdiagnosed as bipolar 1. This is something that is apparently extraordinarily common, that people are misdiagnosed because psychiatrists in those 15-minute appointments, they don't have time to understand the person. I think it is very important that there be parity in mental health care. Everybody should be able to afford therapy. And I know that many people feel that they cannot afford therapy. There are many people who have to lie to their doctors to get off psychiatric medications. And I think that that is an incredibly detrimental dynamic to have. I am very lucky that I have doctors who trust me, who know I am not an addict. I have never misused a substance. I take medications exactly as prescribed. There are many, if I go to the ER, I know that I can get a supply of Valium and not be labeled as an addict. Many people do not feel that they can do that. I have at times felt reluctant to seek medical attention for fear of being labeled as a psychiatric case or a mental health case. And I think that is extraordinarily common, that people with mental health issues are afraid to reach out, even when they have physical issues, for fear that they will be considered that they have a mental health issue. I mildly strained my leg the other day, and I was a little bit afraid to go to urgent care because I was afraid urgent care would tell me that this was a mental health issue. These are things I firmly believe that people should feel free to reach out. If you are struggling, you should always feel free to reach out. Benzodiazepine withdrawal is something that I firmly believe there is not enough awareness about. I post public on 6 platforms. There is nobody in my community who will even admit that they are in psychiatric medication withdrawal. I firmly believe that these are things that you should feel able to discuss. For 20 years, when I was on antipsychotics, I was petrified to tell anybody. I thought that I would lose my job. In fact, the Americans with Disabilities Act would have protected my job. I was afraid, as many people are, when they are struggling to speak out. If you do not feel like you want to be public, that's fine. I have no issues with that. There are confidential resources. But you should always feel free, if you are struggling, to reach out. These are the things that I advocate for. Sunshine, also taking care of yourself, treating yourself with kindness. I do not believe in pushing yourself beyond what you are able to do. And too often in the legal field, attorneys push themselves beyond what they can do. They stress themselves out, and at the end of their career, after working 80-hour work weeks, they are burnt out and have not enjoyed their life. I firmly believe that people should take the time to enjoy themselves and to live their lives, to enjoy their children and to enjoy themselves. These are the things that I seek to spread awareness about as an attorney.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all that with me and being really transparent about your personal struggles. And I appreciate you mentioning how we do have a right to ask questions. We do have a right. I love how you mentioned the ADA is there
Mhm.
to protect us against any type of discrimination if we disclose information, like you said, about their artists, about how to withdraw symptoms.
Mhm.
And I agree, like, it's very unfortunate how, like you said, it's really sad how medicine is always the first option that psychiatrists um put on people, and they don't explore other options that are more holistic, right? And
Exactly.
this
I
is
have yeah.
no, go ahead.
I have no problems if you know the risks of taking psychiatric medications. I have
Mhm.
absolutely no issues with that. I
Yeah,
just wanna have people, before they become physically dependent, to ask the
yeah,
questions that I did not ask.
right. And like you said, like a lot of the medication is really detrimental because even though we might have willpower, the way these medications work, you do become dependent on it. And that is like you said, there's promising a lot of money making behind it. Because then it's like, oh, you're dependent on the medication. So now you need something else to help you get off the dependency. And it's like they keep pushing medicine on top of medicine. And it's like, like you said, it's one day to know the risks and have options and know exactly what you're taking. And it's another thing for a doctor to just say, oh, here, take this medication. And then they just push you out the door, right? And it's like, by the
Exactly.
time you realize what's happening, it's too late. Because it's like, oh wow, the doctor didn't inform me of all these side effects or the risk or anything, and it's just a really big problem. And I think that's why we have such a narcotic crisis. Um,
Mhm.
in America, because like you said, doctors are so quick to just push medication on people
Exactly.
without exploring other options. And like you said,
Mhm.
you know, therapy is not even often talked about or even given as an option because
Mhm.
they automatically assume, oh, you're not going to be able to afford it.
Mhm.
Um,
I
it's just
mean,
really sad.
diet is extraordinarily important, and I didn't
Yeah.
know the importance of diet. I have
Mhm.
made dietary changes, and that has helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Very
so
true.
I mean, because I have resources, I am fairly certain some of the worst things that happen in withdrawal are highly unlikely to happen to me. So
Yeah.
many people on other platforms go to seizures. There are
Uh,
many suicides. People have akathisia, which is inner restlessness. These are
mm,
things that are unlikely to happen for me because I have resources and I have
yeah.
doctors who trust me. And I think that that
Yeah.
is an exceptionally poor dynamic because I see so many people who are struggling so much more than I am across platforms. For
Yeah.
me, the worst issue is insomnia. I have been an insomniac sleeping 0 to 1 to 2 hours, um, since the December of 2022.
Uh,
So, insomnia, if that is my worst issue, I am very well off. I have done
yeah.
absolutely everything that I can possibly do, but modern medicine does not offer a cure in withdrawal.
No.
There is no cure for withdrawal
Yeah.
once you are in withdrawal. And the thing about withdrawal is it's almost 100% preventable if you know the
Yeah.
risk.
Yeah.
So, unlike cancer, this did not have to happen.
Yes, exactly. I'm
There's
very
always a
sorry.
mental component to both physical and mental health issues. I mean, if you are optimistic when you have cancer, that will help your chances. And
Yeah,
similarly, if I put on a optimistic face, things go better for me in withdrawal as well. I think
right.
optimism and positivity is always a good thing for anybody.
Yeah, yeah. I agree, yeah, it does change the outlook, the aspect of overall, like, your overall environment, you know, it does help. When you're optimistic, you're surrounded by positivity, um, and, I'm a socialist student. And so we talk a lot about that as well, especially for people with substance abuse issues. It's
Mhm,
like, okay, when you're trying to get clean, you have to be surrounded by positivity, by
mhm.
looking at the upside of things. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So I read the information about your podcast. I was really impressed that we are all still evolving. I think that that is essential. Nobody, I am still, learning about who I am and what I am
Yeah,
becoming. All of us, nobody is complete until we're all in the process of becoming something.
exactly,
Uh, so,
exactly.
yeah, these are the things, I am very transparent. I post public on 6 platforms, and your listeners can feel free to visit my website at
Yeah.
ellenlubensky.com or
Awesome,
follow
okay.
me on any of LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I do lives on LinkedIn once a week, TikTok twice a week, and Facebook once a week generally, or
Okay,
to connect with me. Um, I'd love to answer any questions. So, you had asked me about boundaries. I do have a child, and I make certain that she is not included in my platform.
okay.
Um, that is something, I've talked about things that are very highly controversial and
Yeah,
that my daughter will digest in years. I do lives on
yeah,
intermittent suicidality, which is something that is very common in withdrawal. It's something
yeah,
that I think should be discussed publicly and people do not need to hide about. These are, intermittent thoughts that you feel bad about yourself. I don't act on those thoughts, but they are things that I believe that you should be able to transparently think, shouldn't hide. It shouldn't be something that's shamed that you have an occasional bad thought.
yeah. I mean, I've had thought. I as you should say, yeah, but, I struggle with mental health, and sometimes I have thoughts, so
Mhm,
I wish I wasn't here, or maybe life would
mhm.
be better off if I didn't exist anymore, right? Like you said, we all kinda have those thoughts, and a lot of
Right.
people act
And,
on them.
having those casual thoughts does not mean I'm a bad mother or a
Yeah,
bad person.
yeah,
They
exactly.
come in waves. I will have,
They do,
for
yeah.
20 minutes, I will feel absolutely horrible about myself. And then, like,
Yeah,
okay, that's over. I'm good now. And I will try to
yeah,
reassure myself,
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
assure myself that I'm okay. And I
yeah,
think it's also important that people can say that they messed up. Being
yeah,
imperfect is
yeah,
perfectly fine. I
yeah,
was taught for a long time that I needed to be perfect, and I thought I needed to be perfect.
yeah,
And I think that that is an incredibly detrimental dynamic to feel that you
yeah,
need to be perfect every time.
I
Because
agree, yeah,
absolutely nobody can be perfect. You need to be able to cut yourself a break.
I agree,
I
yeah,
have I have tried many things this year. And, I was told to use tarot cards, and crystals. These are things that didn't work well for me, but I have
yeah,
tried absolutely everything that has been thrown my way this year.
yeah,
Um, and I think it's important to cut yourself a break. If you
yeah,
try something and it doesn't work, you shouldn't be guilt tripping yourself over that.
yeah, yeah, I'm very guilty of that, and I need to hear that. So thank you for that reminder, because you're right. It's not a matter of being focused, and then you try, it doesn't work, okay, find something else, keep trying
Right.
until you
It's
find
not the
thing.
end of the world.
Yeah, yeah,
The end of the world, the end of the world is a long ways off.
yeah,
I try to stay in the present.
and
Um, and not to guilt trip myself over anything.
yeah,
Um, I was physically disabled for 20 years by a side effect of antipsychotics.
oh, what,
And I recovered to neurologically baseline. My recovery
uh,
was beyond rare. For a while, I was doing everything I could not for 25 years. I was doing back crossovers on ice.
wow,
I was doing ballet. And I got super excited. I thought that I was going to be perfectly fine. But I went down to exhaustion.
yeah,
And I freely admit that I trusted the wrong doctors. And my benzodiazepines were cut too quickly. So,
yeah,
now I have my best friend is more involved to make certain that I make decisions in my wise mind. Because too often
no,
people go into doctor's appointments and feel pressured to make decisions on the spot.
yeah,
So, I don't trust, I am very skeptical of the healthcare system in general at this point.
yeah, I
Um,
have to, honestly, I have, um, I I struggle to trust doctors these days because, yeah, like you said, a lot of people don't have the time to really put in as much attention as they should when treating patients. And again, like you said, even doctors, you're not expecting doctors to be testing either, but like you said earlier, if they can own up to their mistake and admit to when they did something wrong, I think we will live in a better society. And doctors would be more trusted. But
yes, I have been way too trusting this year, and I no longer trust the health system.
yeah,
For any procedure, I will ask, tons of questions
yeah,
because I don't want to be over medicated for anything. Not just mental health. I am very cautious about doing anything medical at this point. I want to be treated as a person. I think anybody who's struggling should be treated as a person. And too
uh-huh,
often, doctors do not take the time to treat people who are struggling as people. And
yeah.
that is unfortunate.
It is very true, very true. Like I said, I'm a social work student.
Mhm.
And so one day I learned that was it really caught my attention is that we have doctors, but doctors, when you look at the different models, like doctors have a very like straightforward medical model in fact they follow where they see the problem and treatment. They don't care about the person, what else the person might be going through, the underlying issues, and that's when
Exactly.
it becomes very, very concerning because
It is.
not all hospitals or clinic settings have medical social workers to fill in that gap. So it's like if you're telling me I can't trust the doctor I'm seeing to care about my overall well-being and not just see the problem at hand, you know, how is
And
that?
I think there's a lot of doctors jump to medications because that is
Yeah,
reliability. You
yeah,
go in and for any sort of health problem, doctors jump to over medicating. And I
yes,
think that is
very true,
unfortunate.
yes, yes, exactly.
So another
Yeah.
topic I like to discuss is the Social Security disability system.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and I worked in the Social Security disability system at the SSI project. And I
Oh,
saw time and time again that people were denied benefits for mental health issues
yeah.
because they did not wish to take psychiatric medications. And instead, they wanted to use ice packs or breathe through panic attacks.
Uh-huh.
And therefore, they would not get benefits. I firmly
Uh,
believe that anybody who is struggling with mental health or with physical issues should be able to get benefits.
yeah.
I the the attorneys and staff at legal services at the SSI Project of Legal Services, where I worked, I firmly believe knew almost nothing about the detrimental effects of psychiatric medications. Legal Services of New Jersey as a whole is phenomenal, but I have serious concerns about the SSI project. I offered them, I was very disturbed that the attorneys and staff knew less about the detrimental effects of psychiatric medications than people struggling on TikTok. I offered a free
Uh,
training, and instead of accepting my help, I was legally threatened for speaking
what?
out about what happened there. I was often urged not to give people job resources
Oh
who
my god.
wanted to work and could work. I find that an exceptionally detrimental dynamic. If
Yeah.
somebody wants to work, I think that they should be given the resources. There are many people who could get a 1-month course to learn how to do nails or something like that and be
Yeah.
able to have a productive career rather than being told they're disabled and getting disability benefits for the rest of their lives. Because I
Mm,
saw so many people who did not want to be disabled and wanted to be productive and could be
yeah.
productive with a little bit of job training.
Wow. I was not aware that that was an issue, like, especially for people with mental health problems. I didn't realize that was a good thing with exercise. I mean, I already know that anything exercise related is a nightmare. Um,
It is. No, I mean,
you
getting
know,
disability benefits. I have applied for Social Security disability. I have doctors who say that I'm 100% disabled because
yeah.
I can't follow screens. So I can't watch a TV show. I have
Oh,
severe concentration issues and withdraw. However, I was very transparent on my application that I can do my own activities of daily living and I publicly speak. However, I don't think I could even do DoorDash right now because I don't have the energy and I spend a lot of my day resting.
wow.
So I don't think I'm going to get disability. I firmly believe that people who are struggling with mental health issues should be able to get disability benefits just as much as anybody struggling with a physical issue.
I agree. I definitely agree. Because again, I know it's fine, like on the substance abuse spectrum, they say addiction of any type is considered a disability because
Mhm.
it impacts a person's ability to function in certain ways, like you're saying. So I'm just confused why it's, I'm like, 2026, right? So it's like, why is that still such a, almost like a taboo topic? And it's
It
like,
is taboo, and I think it's becoming less taboo. It used to be, nope, that nobody talked about mental health.
yeah,
I think it is much more of something that is being widely talked about today. And I think that that is highly beneficial because
yeah,
prevention is so important. If you
yeah,
have a contentious divorce, therapy should be the first order of business, in my belief.
yeah, I agree.
Not medications. I don't
Yeah,
like to be labeled.
yeah,
I don't like, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that
Yeah.
labels people for psychiatric illnesses. I
Uh-huh.
don't most doctors I speak to firmly believe that it is a fabrication. You're putting people in categories. I don't
Yeah.
want to be put into a category. I'm a person. Everybody is a
Yeah.
person and should be respected for who they are.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. That categorization is a major problem as well, especially when we already have mental health struggles and we already have identity crisis
Mhm.
because of the mental health struggle. And that
Yeah.
was when put in this box of, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I'm bipolar. And,
Right.
that could be
You
good.
know,
Yeah.
I was told I was bipolar at 20. And, to some degree I acted the part. I told I was told, "Okay, I was told you were bipolar." I think I actually looked up what somebody with bipolar would do. I've Many doctors have said that I'm autistic. I don't really
Wow.
care that I'm autistic, it's who I am. I
Yeah.
think there are many, many people who are misdiagnosed as autistic.
Yeah.
I have not done a neuropsych, although I am thinking of doing one, but, the system, instead of thinking of beyond the immediate, they labeled me. And that
Mm,
label, I appealed my diagnosis,
that's good.
25 years later. And I was told that that diagnosis could not be changed because
Well,
somebody 25 years earlier had labeled me. I bought My
wow.
records state that I bought 2 skirts at Ross for under $100, and that was considered a shopping spree, sufficient to label me as bipolar 1. So these are things, that
Wow.
I believe in root causes and predispositions. I don't
Yeah.
believe in mental illness. I believe there were things that happened in my childhood led me to self-harm.
Right.
I went to school in France at age 4, and I was very much alone,
Mm,
and crawled out of story time. These were my root causes because I was told that I was stupid, and it became an ingrained belief for me.
yeah. Yeah.
So many people have issues in their childhood that affect them as adults.
Exactly. And this is a lot of times, this is what causes us to have certain behavior patterns or what have you. And then instead of a doctor, psychiatrist, act you know, give us the option to do therapy to really uncover our trauma and work through that. They still want to put a band-aid over everything. Oh, here, just take this medication. Well,
This will solve all your problems. Here's a pill.
yeah, yeah. And it's like, okay, you take the medication and you still like, what if, like, you're still having the same thoughts, the same feelings? Like, it's not a cure. It's not a magic pill that's gonna take everything away and make my life perfect. I still have things I need some work to do in order to properly heal. And that's why we
Exactly.
become dependent on medication. Because they're not
Yeah.
working on the wound, we're just trying to cover it up. And then it's like, oh, this medication's not working no more. Okay, we'll give you a higher dose. Or we'll give you something else. It's like,
Exactly. I went
yeah,
to my you go to your psychiatrist and you say, "I'm struggling." And they say, "Okay, we'll give you more psychiatric medication."
yes,
For me, benzodiazepines caused me to become an insomniac, and my
yeah,
tolerance grew very quickly. Instead of thinking of other options, my psychiatrist increased my dosages of benzodiazepines, and I am
wow,
struggling for years because of that.
Wow.
And I didn't feel that I could ask questions. I felt like, no, my mainstream psychiatrist, I trusted her. I trusted
Yeah.
a trusted psychiatrist who had been my psychiatrist for 25 years.
Wow. Wow.
And there are so many people that trust the system.
Mm,
So I
yeah.
want to advocate for people to ask the questions that I did not ask.
Yeah. So, in that, you being an attorney, I want to ask you, especially for those of us with disabilities, my platform is centered around people with various disabilities. So what questions should we ask? And also, when we are interacting with doctors, I feel like a lot of times doctors already see us as we are disabled. We don't know what we're talking about. What?
Exactly, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
most people, there are some people, I would urge people to bring somebody into their appointment with them.
yeah.
Make sure that
I
they're
always have,
making decisions in their wise mind.
yeah, I always have my mom with me.
But no, things that people should ask. They should ask, what's going to happen if I take these pills?
Okay,
What
yeah.
what sorts of side effects can I expect? If the
Uh-huh.
doctor does not want to give you information, doesn't give you the time, you should always know there's another doctor who is out there who will give you more time. You do not
Yeah.
have to settle for the first doctor that you find. There are options. And I,
Okay.
for a long time, did not think I had options.
Yeah. And that's how I feel like a lot of us, especially in the disability community, I mean, that's another layer to everything. I feel like doctors already see us as an inconvenience because we're disabled. And we need more time, more accommodation. And it's like they're already trying to just get rid of us, the moment we come in. So I feel like they try to give us quick answers, quick fixes. It's like, oh, try this for a few days or for a few weeks, and this doesn't work, come back. And I'm like, I don't have time to be coming back and forth because you want to use me
Exactly.
as a
Or
hoodie.
the expense. It's very expensive and exhausting
Yeah,
to be going to
yeah,
doctors all the time. And also, you
yeah.
don't want to be a guinea pig.
Yes, yes,
To be,
exactly.
okay, here's something, let's try this out. You may suffer a bunch from this. We'll wait and see.
Exactly, exactly. So, I mean, this conversation is really helpful, and like I said, I think it's really important to have someone with as much knowledge as you to really help us figure out, like, okay, so we do have a right to ask questions. We do have a right to not wanna say something if we feel like, okay,
You also always have the right to say no.
yeah,
You can decline medical treatment.
yeah,
Unless you do not have the capacity to decline medical treatment, you can always say no. I
yeah,
think that is very important.
I agree. I really agree. Yeah, and thank you for touching on some of those really important issues that is prominent, especially like I said, for people with disabilities.
Mhm,
Um, and like you said, you also have a disability,
mhm.
and so you kind of know what we deal with in
Right.
society. Um,
So I
so
have an invisible disability right now,
yeah,
and that is somewhat sometimes harder
it is.
because people
Yeah,
see me and they don't know that I am considered disabled. So I
yeah.
walk around and many people have confronted me in public and said, you should be working.
Uh-huh.
Um, I have doctors who say I am 100% disabled, but I don't look disabled.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's important to respect people and know that there are many people who are disabled who may not look disabled.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And again, that's where the issue with social security disability comes in because it's like, oh, well, you don't look disabled, so we're going to provide you benefits because you don't have enough
Yes.
obvious proof that you're disabled. That's
Yes. I mean,
crazy.
the Social Security disability system is a very, very slow process. And the
Yeah,
amount that they pay people is minimal.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not the SS for people who do not have a work history. When I was at the SSI project, people were getting under $1,000 a
Uh-huh.
month.
Yep.
That is not sufficient to live on.
No, it's not. That's how much I get, and that's why I still live with my mom. Because I'm like,
Mhm.
there's no way. Even if I wanted to live independently, there's no way I can do that because I only get $630 every month from
Yeah.
SSI.
I mean, that is not enough to live on. I firmly believe that
No,
our society needs to change that system because people deserve, who are struggling, who are disabled, deserve to have enough to live on.
I
There are
agree.
many
Yeah,
people who have asked me, who have said, people lie to get disability. I think that that is extraordinarily uncommon. I have
yeah,
seen a few cases, but most people who apply for disability are disabled.
exactly.
Um, many of them really do want to work.
Yeah,
I mean, if they could work, they would work.
exactly.
They are
Exactly.
not being lazy by applying for disability.
No, not at all. Because it's already a whole process to even get a little bit of benefits. So why would someone lie about that and go through all
Mhm.
the processes, headache, just to get
Yeah,
the bare minimum?
right. I mean, I believe there are a few people who lie, but
Yeah,
that is the minority of people.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And they're like really tactic and they know how to really cheat the system. Hmm. But I can say something on the two-main topic. We're almost at about an hour in. Is there anything else that you feel is important to bring up or educate people on?
I think that the most important thing is to always treat yourself with kindness and
Yeah,
forgiveness.
yeah,
Um, if things go badly, roll with the punches. Don't be hard on yourself. Always, focus on self-care. The cardinal rule is always to choose yourself first. And I think that
yeah.
is very important. I know that I have to choose myself first in order to be present for my child.
Very true, yeah. That's very true. Yes. And I think that's a nice provider because, um, I know a lot of people, as soon as you say, oh, I'm trying to focus on myself, or I'm doing it for myself, oh, you're selfish. Oh, you don't think
No,
about yourself. Yeah, you're right.
it's not about being selfish. It's about taking care of yourself so you can be there for anybody else. If you
Yeah,
drain yourself, you don't have the capacity to help anybody else.
I agree. I agree. So the last question I want to
Mhm,
really ask is, since you are an attorney,
mhm.
who do you feel like you're still becoming in this current season of your life?
Well, this has been a year to remember for me because I've been in withdrawal. I benzodiazepine withdrawal is horrible and almost entirely preventable.
Yeah,
For a while, I filed suit against a psychiatrist. This was
yeah.
extraordinarily difficult for me
Mm,
because for a while I was, guilt tripping myself that this was my fault.
mm,
I've had friends who have told me that this was my fault. It is not
wow.
my fault when somebody, has taken me.
Exactly.
Um, this was something that, I was very hard for me to accept. So I wasn't leaving the house. I was very depressed about it for a while.
Mm.
And now I am, up and, doing things again and taking care of myself. So I am, evolving with the process. I want to get out there, but there's some days that I'm forgiving myself that I'm just too tired and I don't go out of the house, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very
Mhm,
important.
mhm.
Um, well, thank you so much for bringing your insight, your professional knowledge, and your advocacy to not only this conversation, but this podcast. Again, I think it's very important for people to know about these things. So, thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here, and for all your time.
I greatly appreciate the discussion. Have a wonderful
Yeah,
day.
you too. Bye bye.
Bye.
So, for listeners, I hope this episode reminds you that you are allowed to ask questions. You are allowed to seek clarity. And you are allowed to understand your options before making healthcare decisions. Thank you for listening to this episode. And if this conversation helps you think differently about thought-informed consent, ask some questions, patient advocacy, or anything else related to your own healthcare experiences, please share with us on our social media pages, but also share the episode with someone who may need it. Until next time, keep growing, keep questioning, and keep becoming.